Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, July 24th, 2025. This is live stream 1217. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then usually I will take a first look at a game, might do an unboxing or page through a role-playing game. Sometimes we just tackle a topic, and every once in the blue moon, I just hang out and chew the fat with chat after the news. Well, tonight, I'm going to dive on in, unbox, and take a first look at Fields of Fire Deluxe Edition from GMT Games. This is a solitaire game. This is a big old box. It's a pretty heavy box as well. There is lots inside it. And I remember tackling the original Fields of Fire that came out from GMT. And I will discuss that a little bit as we take a look at this new Deluxe Edition, at least some of the things I know about the Deluxe Edition already. So if you are tuning in to catch the live unboxing, do want to point out we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So if you are watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax, enjoy yourself. If you're watching this after the fact, maybe on Memorex, keep in mind there are timestamps. You can utilize those if you want to jump past the news and get right on into the unboxing. Now, those timestamps are found in the show notes, and depending on the device you might be watching this on, could be right there in the timeline of the video too. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Then, of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. Now, it's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 60 minutes before you can take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is the Madman, followed by Sean O'Donnell. Mike is with us, as is Game Cat. I will guess chat might be a little quieter than usual because we're taking a look at a war game. And most of the audience expects role-playing game stuff. So, yeah, we might see a fall off in the number of live viewers, which is fine because I am really excited to take a peek inside this because actually the first edition of Fields of Fire was pretty cool. The Madman is saying hello to Sarah D. Sarah D is not with us this week. So we are down to a single chat moderator. That's right, the Madman. So behave or he'll boot your ass right out of here. All right, everybody, let's jump on into news because now up for crowdfunding is what I found to be an interesting looking folkloric role-playing game. And I've got the dope on Folklore Americana from Kids in the Attic Games. The Folklore Americana core book is a complete tabletop role-playing game experience, a folk horror sandbox set in a haunted, alternate history America during the Great Depression. Built on a narrative-focused version of the Year Zero engine, it balances streamlined mechanics with atmospheric story-first gameplay. This is a game about belief, survival, trauma, and the stories that stick to places long after people are gone. Core sections of the book include the introduction, a moody, unsettling welcome to the world of folklore Americana. Learn the themes, the horror tone, and what kind of stories this game is made to tell. Then you'll find a rules overview with a modified Year Zero engine tailored for folk horror. Push your luck, manage stress and scars, and let the consequences tell the tale. No hit points, just choices. There's character creation, where you can build layered characters with pasts that matter. Choose your calling, such as the preacher, rambler, gravedigger, granny witch, or rail rider, and more. And flesh out your history, burdens, secrets, and gear. There are skills, talents, and scars which define what your character can do, what they've survived, and what it's cost them. Talents reflect the strange and specific. Scars show what never healed. There's equipment and survival because your tools matter. From pocket knives and prayer books to jars of grave dirt or blood-stained guitars, what you carry might save you. There's conflict, harm, and consequences rules for fights, breakdowns, fear, and fallout. Conflict in this game is dangerous and rarely without a price. The world of folklore Americana explores an America rotting from the inside out. Travel cursed highways, starved farms, mountain hollers, swamps full of bones, and deserts haunted by dying myths. Each region pulses with its own horrors and histories. There's even faith and folk magic, because God's gone quiet, but people still pray. Learn the rules for rituals, charms, backwoods witchcraft, and supernatural bargains. You might be saved or cursed. Monsters and legends, not just monsters, but manifestations of cultural dread. The Hollow Man, grave hags, riders in the storm, dying demigods, and things America never buried deep enough. There's also a full guide for GMs on how to effectively run horror with tons of additional options, random tables, and bonus content. You'll also find character sheet and tools, which are printable, and there will be digital versions of everything you need to play, including character sheets, reference aids, and safety tools. This backer kit project is already over the 350% funding mark. You can reserve a copy of the 300-plus page hardcover with PDF for a $45 pledge. Or if you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can reserve a copy of that for a $20 pledge through August 8th. Turnaround on this is going to be fast. Expected delivery, and this is for the finished product. This is actually the hardcover books. Fall. Yes, fall 2025. I am impressed. You're seeing a lot of role-playing games where it's like, oh, yeah, it's July. Let's see, the Kickstarter runs till the end of July, and we plan on delivering this December of 2026. And it's like, what? It's like, is this just a crowdfunding project for an idea you have? I like the artwork too. Line art looks pretty nice. So there you have it. Folklore Americana. There is I think it's cooled off a little bit, but we did see a period within the past year and a half where that sort of holler horror was kind of making a big push in quite a few different game releases. Pretty nice, pretty nice. But this isn't just holler horror. This is Americana. So Tessie Drex says the Folklore Americana people are doing print on demand, hence the quick turnaround. Yes, there is also a pledge level where you get the PDF and a print on demand coupon where you would just pay the price of the printing. But I gave you the pledge level that includes the physical book. You don't have to worry about using a coupon or anything like that. So we've got Maxpocalypse, the aforementioned Tessie Trekkie is with us, crowing about Discworld. I get Discworld. It does look impressive. I've shared news about it. So I believe it is the PDFs which are arriving to backers for Discworld. Very nice. Very, very nice. Lona's Cave is also with us in chat. Welcome. Max Apocalypse says that cover is awesome. It is a pretty cool looking cover, I thought, as well. On to our next news piece. Yes, there's another big, eagerly anticipated role-playing game, which PDFs have arrived. These you can purchase because the aforementioned, eagerly anticipated core rulebook for the Cosmere role-playing game has landed digitally from Brotherwise Games, and I've got the skinny on the Stormlight Handbook. The Knights Radiant must stand again. In the war-torn world of Roshar, the ideals you swear are as powerful as the weapons you wield. When the true desolation approaches, heroes must rise, from soldiers and scholars to shard-bearers and surge-binders. Will you speak the ancient oaths and become radiant? This core rulebook for the Cosmere role-playing game contains everything you need to build characters and tell epic stories in the Stormlight campaign setting. Step into a universe of adventure and investiture with the Stormlight Handbook. When you're ready to become a game master, take the next step with the Stormlight World Guide and the Stonewalker's Adventure. This book includes the core rules needed to play in the Stormlight campaign setting for the Cosmere RPG. It includes an original D20-based system designed by an all-star roster of experienced role-playing game professionals. Familiar but upgraded mechanics with purpose-built innovations such as talent trees, skill-based magic, and the plot die. Play any type of character from scholar or soldier or shard-bearer or Knight Radiant. Beginning with the Stormlight Archive and expanding to Mistborn, this original tabletop role-playing game will grow to support the entire Cosmere. This is a living role-playing game that will grow as Brandon Sanderson expands the universe of Cosmere novels, designed to tell standalone stories in each setting or sweeping world hopper campaigns that move between different planets. The Cosmere role-playing game uses an original system designed for a broad range of players, from role-playing novices to avid TTRPG hobbyists. The system's core mechanic is simple. Roll a 20-sided die, add a relevant skill, and try to beat a certain difficulty number. Familiar but upgraded mechanics with purpose-built innovations, such as those talent trees, skill-based magic, and that plot die, make this system unique. Right now, you can get the 392-page PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $35. It is not part of the Xmas in July sale, sadly enough. But like I said, a lot of people very, very excited about this. I'll be the first to say I tried to get into Stormlight. I also tried to get into Mistborn. They just didn't grab me. I've tried. Now, my best friend, Elliot Miller, he's read all the Mistborn books. I think he's up to speed with all the isn't it the Stormlight Archive or something like that it's called? That series of books. But he's a big Brandon Sanderson fan. So actually, Elliot met him at Gen Con one year. But this is, this is probably 10 years ago, maybe even more than that. Steven from Roll for Combat says, best books ever. Yeah, if you've never read books, maybe. Hey, speaking of authors, I will be honest, it's audiobooks I've been listening to. I haven't been reading them. But I have been getting into Callahan's, what is it, Cross Time Saloon? Well, the Callahan series from Spider Robinson. I've had people recommend those for a long, long time, and I've never gotten around to it. Started checking it out, and I'm like, yeah. Oh, there you go. Cross Time Saloon. Thank you, Max Apocalypse. Pete Strakulich is with us in chat, says they're about to read that too. Yep, pretty good. They are pretty good. They're at least the first volume is essentially just short stories. Some of them had been submitted to, I believe it was Analog magazine way back in the day. All right, let's move on to our next news piece because there's a new bundle of holding which has arrived and it features the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland role-playing game from Super Savage Systems. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventure. With some hesitation, we present the all-new Neon Lords bundle featuring, yes, you guessed it, Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, the gonzo slime punk post-apocalyptic cassette future tabletop role-playing game from Super Savage Systems. Mutants and monsters roam the toxic wastelands of the forgotten world. In this kill or be killed world, magic and tech collide. Only the strong survive, and attitude is everything. Become a scumdog and brave the ruins in search of cash and prizes. Collect fantastical gear and wield the galaxy's most powerful weapons to become the baddest dude in Neo Terra X, the Neon Lord. Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland is a visceral mashup of 80s and 90s pop culture mixed in a grim, dark blender and barfed onto the table. For fans of the Toxic Avenger and other trauma entertainment B-movies, Neon Lords provides all the sleazy, over-the-top late-night horror you can handle. It has an ultra nightmare mode. It has 3 tables of mutations. It has a 3-page hairstyles table. One 9th level spell is called Slaughter All Existence. One illustration is captioned, The Wasteland War of Lord Blistergut Rex Smasher versus the Free Humanoid Army of Shrapnel City. Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland is an exultant trash heap rhapsody, a paintball shot that hits its mark so hard, it makes it glow. You admire a game like that, right? Though, possibly from a distance. Marshal your courage and pay just $14.95 to get all 6 titles in the Toxic Collection, which has a retail value of $73, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 272-page Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland core rules, the character expansion, Riders of the Burp Warp, and the scenarios Warp Shine Runners, Space Bulk, Mutant Hive Wars, and Sleazoid Mutant Freaks from Cannibal Island. These savings will run through August 4th. You might recall I reviewed the core book for Neon Lords of the Toxic Wastelands. It is very entertaining. I gotta say, playing it, I would think would be an absolute blast. Running it, maybe a little tougher. And one of the reasons is it's really kind of a hodgepodge as far as its presentation. Its presentation, you're going to have to search around for stuff when you're running it. But I'll tell you, on a page per page basis, it has got more whacked out shit that's funny and interesting and cool than practically any other role-playing game that I can think of. It's the gamma world that people thought existed back in the 80s. Because a lot of people have this like sort of really rose-colored gonzo Gamma World nostalgia for first edition Gamma World. And yeah, there were mutants, there were mutations and things, but it was not a gonzo role playing game. It was pretty much a straight up serious science fiction role playing game. It was later editions that started to get a little wackier and things like that. But you want wacky? Look no further than Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. And I see that Chris Lundgren and Buddy are with us tonight, as is Kunfasa popping on in. All right. I think this might be a first time visit for Kunfasa in chat. I have seen some comments from them on some of the videos, but I don't think you've joined us in chat before. So welcome. Make yourself comfortable. Let's move on to our next news piece. Landing in stores August 30th is Gunslinger Knights for the Cypher system. And I've got the lowdown from Monte Cook Games. Your order of noble gunslinging knights is all that protects Sankara from the scourge of otherworldly horrors. Astride their reliable mechanical steeds and wielding weapons of power and flame, the Honorable Order of Gunslinger Knights battles these horrors as they emerge from the fundament storms. Despite their generations of experience, the knights will have to muster every bit of courage, skill, and valor they can. Never before have the horrors and their insidious masters lusted over a world as they lust over the land of Sankara. The battle is on. Gunslinger Knights is a complete campaign setting filled with mythic quests worthy of Arthur, Lancelot, and Gawain, set in a world brimming with powerful yet destructive arcanotech. Don your armor, mount your crafted steed, and ride into the approaching storm. For the dreamed blade, for the silvered throne, for Sankara. Inside this book, you'll find world building, history, and GM advice for creating compelling campaigns within Sankara. Learn who walked this world in the ages before humankind. 6 brand new Order Foci. Carry the banner of Orin if you put the welfare of your fellow knights above your own. Serve the legacy of Biril by wielding a blessed weapon with extraordinary skill. Or carry the banner of Lithia by mastering the lore of the creeping deeps. New descriptors and other character options so you can play a gallant wayfarer who makes the impossible shots, a grim-faced stormbringer who repels sorcery, or a stalwart juggernaut who slays dread beasts. This also includes 2 harrowing and perilous adventures to be played as one-shots or incorporated into a larger campaign. You've got the Blue Knight and Vile Heart. Gunslinger Knights is a setting and supplement for the Cypher system. It requires the Cypher system rulebook in order to play. The 208-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it arrives on August 30th. In fact, funny enough, I already had this news piece all set up, and then Monte Cook Games about 2 hours ago announced that pre-orders had begun for this. I was like, what? Because I was actually getting the release date news from a distributor. And I thought, okay, I'll share it. A lot of the news I get, I pull from distributors. And I was like, wow, talk about a coincidence. I was like, that's kind of wild. Now, the PDF is not out yet. I'm going to take a guess on August 30th. It'll come out because I seem to recall Monte Cook Games usually releases their PDFs on release day. And I'm going to guess it's going to be $18.99 because that tends to be the going rate for the PDFs of the Cypher system supplements. Very cool. Very nice. I like this piece of art that was just showing it there on one of the images where it's like the skull moon or whatever behind him. It's kind of wild. All right, let's move on to our final news piece because now available in print and PDF is the third issue of the Valorian Codex, the official Kernathalis zine from Blackoath Entertainment. And here's what I know. The Valorian Codex is Blackoath Entertainment's official zine for Kernathalis Into the Midnight Throne. Each issue of the Valorian Codex offers a mix of short content updates for Kernathalis, such as new domains to explore, new rules and systems, explorations of specific themes within the game, new enemies and items, and more. In this third issue, you'll find rules to add companions to your game, NPCs that you can find in the depths of the necropolis and that can fight by your side and help you in your adventures. Equip them, level them up, and make sure they survive. A series of unique rooms that you can find while exploring Kernathalis, each with new mechanics and opportunities. There are dozens of them to find, as well as new optional rules, combat attrition to make sure fights don't go on for too long, and environmental hazards to spice up fights, structural collapse, noxious fumes, flooding. The necropolis will never be the same. This 38-page softcover zine is available by way of drive-through RPG. I almost said RGP. Yeah, you want to go over to drive-through RGP? Yeah. Drive-through rocket-propelled grenade. Anyway, the softcover zine you can get in print for $13. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so for $8. And I know we've had some folks who have commented that Kernathalis Into the Midnight Throne is actually really, really well done. I have some stuff we've taken a peek at from Blackoath Entertainment. That was not one of the items they sent me. So, anywho, there you go. So the third issue of the zine designed for that game. And yes, that game is Solitaire. DB's with us in chat. Said they were slow in tonight because Hulk Hogan died. They thought they were being punked. No, you weren't being punked. He passed away. So did, Chuck Mangione? That's what happens. It's what, there are some musical artists out there where I'm like, oh, when they pass away, I'm going to be super bummed. Like Jackson Browne. I am a huge Jackson Browne fan. And I'm like, yeah, he's up there. He's really up there. All right. So I've got a few other news pieces that I did not put slides together for and stuff like that. Exalted Funeral has launched their summer sale. You can save 30% all the way up to 70% off the entire store. Everything in the store, 30 to 70% off. Although I'm not sure if the like dinged and dented stuff is on sale because it's already marked way, way down. So you got that great sale. There's also the free RPG PDF charity bundle, Game Masters of the Funeralverse edition, which is for therapy blended gaming by way of the Badhana Group, I think is how it's pronounced. They're a 501c3 nonprofit based in Pennsylvania that utilizes tabletop gaming in therapy, education, and capacity building skills with children, teens, and adults. There are 60 PDFs as part of this bundle. The bundle is free if you'd like it. If you want to make a donation, by all means, they welcome that as well. There's some awesome stuff in it. This isn't just junk. There are a bunch of different zines. There's a lot of cool OSE stuff. There are 2 of the any nominated Exalted Funeral releases in PDF. And I'm talking this year's ENnies. So Dungeon Cats, as well as Settlers of a Dead God. I've got a review of Settlers of a Dead God coming shortly. It's going to be part of our Adventurous August. I have Dungeon Cats, but it's only, I think it's like 10 pages. It's cute. It's a little tiny little zine size. It's not even zine size. It's not even digest size. It's about yay big. It's a booklet, essentially. Cool. And it's just what you would think a game called Dungeon Cats would be about. It's about cats exploring dungeons. I'm a cat guy. That's why I got it. So anyway, so that is available. Like I said, it is 60 PDFs. If you want it for absolutely free, you certainly can. Even if you made a $10 donation, I think the PDF of Settlers of a Dead God is more than $10. Pete Strakowicz says, grab your Tales of Een core book, Settlers of Dead God, etc. I do also believe that the Monty Python role-playing game is part of the sale. Like I said, it's supposed to be 30 to 70% off all of their titles. Kunfasa said they were supposed to get Mouse Lita. They can't get themselves to get those PDFs. Well, some of the Mouse Rare PDF stuff is free. Kunfasa says their Free League parcel arrived. I have the new Coriolis arriving tomorrow. We were talking about Cypher System. We were talking about the Gunslinger Knights. The core book for Cypher System is en route. So that is supposed to show up on Saturday. I am probably going to share first look videos before I leave to go to Gen Con. I guarantee you, I am going to share a video of Coriolis. What is it? The Deep Dark? Is that what they're calling it? This new edition. One thing that is not in transit are the starter sets for the One Ring and Lord of the Rings role-playing. Kind of surprised by that. Now, I am scheduled to interview Tomas Harenstam from Free League Games at Gen Con. So we're going to talk about all three of those things. Probably talk a little Aliens, because I do believe the Aliens PDFs have been released to the backers. That was a Kickstarter, right? So lots cooking for Free League Publishing. Plus, I think there's some new Dragonbane items. Well, we had that Kickstarter for 2 books. I don't know how close those are in the production process, how far along they are. Tessie Trekkie says the new Coriolis is incredibly cool. They got theirs 2 weeks ago. Well, you were a Kickstarter backer. I had to wait for the marketing company that Free League Publishing utilizes to reach out and ask me if it wasn't asking me personally. It was just a blanket email that went out to the press contacts. So Sharon says they're over on the Exalted Funeral website seeing a lot of 20% off physical stuff. I could have swore it said 30. If not, if it's 20%, I know it's up to 70% off. Pete Strykowitz says the new Lord of the Rings stuff is about to drop August 7th. Who knows? Hey, maybe I'll luck out. Like that time I was the first person in America to be sharing coverage of Twilight 2000's 4th edition. Well. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Something else I wanted to mention. A new Humble Bundle launched, and it includes all I take that back. It's not all, the vast majority of the SSI releases for D&D. So we've got the silver box, the gold box. We've got the 3 Eye of the Beholder games. There are 13 items that are included in this bundle. 7 of them are collections of multiple games. So I think it's the second gold box collection has 6 games. So it's got Pools of Radiance. It's got Curse of the Azure Bonds, which I played way, way back in the day. So, and of course, they have been tweaked so you can play them on modern PCs. So you can get all of this, all 13 items, multiple games. There's probably 30 games is what I would guess. $10. $10 through August 7th. And there are a couple of early 2000s D&D games that are being re-released very shortly. I'll have news about those on the website next week. Very nice. Very cool. So that is it for the news tonight. I had mentioned Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And there is currently the Xmas in July sale. It is the second best of the sales that we see at Drive-Thru RPG. Only one that beats it is Black Friday. Black Friday through Cyber Monday has little better deals, but you're still saving 30% off, tens of thousands of PDFs. There are some special offers for 75% off certain role-playing games too. Be sure to check those out. So yes, lots of goodness over at Drive-Thru RPG, and we are an affiliate. So visiting there helps keep thegaminggang.com around if you use our affiliate links, which you do by clicking on the banners. Of course, if you like this video, that means give it a thumbs up in case you didn't know what that's supposed to mean. If you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, then by all means, if you'd like to support the outlet, you can do so in a couple of ways. First, you can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Lovely. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. And on all the live shows, I'd like to say a big thank you to our Patreon members, such as our $5 tier members, Gustavo Cobalho, Jason Lawman, Kubal, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 tier members, Dan Webb, Game Cat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM, as well as our $25 tier members, Agile Monk and the Madman. Thank you very, very much. It is super appreciated. So tonight is the last show until, was it August 5th? Let me take a quick peek at the old calendar here. Yes, August 5th will be the next episode of the Dispatch, because of course I will be at Gen Con next week. So I am going to be sharing, hopefully, fingers crossed here, sharing the interviews that I do at Gen Con before I get back, I would take a guess probably the Saturday interviews I do will be up maybe on Monday, but I am going to try to get some of those out ASAP. Now, that doesn't mean that the channel is going to be dark until then. No, there is going to be videos because I do plan on sharing my review for the Starfinder 2nd edition player core. That should be out Monday. And I will try to do first look videos at the new first look videos of the new Coriolis that's arriving. Maybe even the Cypher system, although Cypher system has been out for a while. In fact, they're getting ready to kickstart a new edition of that as well. But yes, there will be content. So it's not like, oh, tonight's a show and then we won't see Jeff until the 5th, which maybe you want to happen. Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, you might be looking forward to a break from me. I don't know. I probably would be. Captain Infinity, Time Travel Police, has joined us in chat. Also should mention, if you are attending Gen Con and if you see myself or myself and Elliot strolling around, be sure to say hello. I'm the same person you're seeing right now on camera. Yeah, I'm on camera, off camera. This is me. For good or bad, this is me. So, outside of that, only other things cooking, I did finalize my interview times with Cobalt Press and Cubicle 7 Games. So all of my interviews are set up. DB says, man, this Exalted Funeral sale has me wanting to ravish my wallet. Yeah, you know, funny enough, I am not an affiliate of Exalted Funeral. I'm supposed to maybe meet with Tiger Wizard. That's their like game designer name. I know their real name, but who actually is a designer of Dungeon Cats for Exalted Funeral. I'm supposed to talk with him. He is my like marketing contact with Exalted Funeral. I should ask about that. I'm like, yeah, I should ask as far as if they do affiliate things. I don't know. Sean O'Donnell says the backlog of TGG videos will be all that keeps them stable. How is there a backlog? Are you not watching these? So DB's like their trigger finger is itchy. Cart, yeah. Final payment, yeah. You do have to go through the payment process if you're getting that. Well, I almost said it's free. It's not. It's free if you want it to be free. PDF bundle, but you don't have to enter any payment details. So there you go. All right. So tonight we're going to be diving on in. We're going to be taking a first look at Field of Fire Deluxe Edition from GMT Games. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Well, you see what I get from the refreshment counter. Oh, boy, popcorn and candy bars and ice cream and, oh, boy, sparkling ice-cold Coca-Cola. Oh, boy, that tastes good. Have you been to the refreshment counter?
Remember, your favorite snack will taste especially good with world-famous ice-cold Coca-Cola.
like tasty bread?
No!
Things seem to happen to people who don't like tasty bread.
This is the greatest moment of your lives. There it is, directly ahead. A body of land uplifted by volcanic eruption 100 million years ago. The land where monsters lived.
Yes, you're heading out of this world by jet airliner, by hydroplane, by helicopter, into the wildest of all jungles, into the forbidding headwaters of the Amazon. With Michael Rennie, Jill St. John, David Hedison, Claude Rains, Fernando Lamas, and Frosty the Poodle, as they discover a primitive world exactly the way it was at the dawn of time, in the most fantastic of adventure stories.
For me, the story started 3 years ago when Burton White came to me. He told me of how in some Indian village out here in the jungle, he'd met a fever-stricken white man who babbled on about a plateau with monsters and diamonds.
Here is the most amazing of all possible worlds. You'll see man-eating vines that lure their prey, spiders as tall as trees, hair-raising attack by prehistoric monsters, Battle of the Titans to the death, the most terrible creatures of destruction that ever walked the earth. You'll flee through grotesque underground mazes from cannibals who demand human sacrifice.
Sacrifice?
The place they undoubtedly plan to kill you.
No, not me, please. Ah!
You'll be among the first mortals to cross the graveyard of the damned. You'll scale the incredible wall of death. You'll face the terrors of the Cave of Fire, with its lake of molten lava, its fabulous pyramid of diamonds. And you'll be stunned by the horrifying 100-foot fire monster that guards a king's ransom in treasure.
Irwin Allen should be ashamed. But they couldn't hire Ray Harryhausen to do a little stop motion. They had to bust out those old tricks with lizards and shit, which was from the early 1950s. Man, it would just look awful. Plus, you got one woman and a poodle and 8 men on an expedition to the unknown. Yeah, that's going to end well. Well, you got to say, yeah, Jill St. John, not too shabby. Not too shabby. Although she looked more exciting in Diamonds Are Forever. So there is that. The man says, "Oh no, the monster ate the Ken doll." Yeah, it's like embarrassment, those special effects. You'd have thought those were the Doug McClure movies. Actually, I think the Doug McClure movies probably had better special effects than that. So DB is spoiling the film about the poodle. Thanks a lot. DB says they have the comic book for the film. They love it. The movie, not as much. Agile Monk is with us in chat, as is Troy Cornelson. Good to see you both once again. Agile Monk says Lost World should have stayed lost. All right, so tonight we are going to be diving on in and unbox and take a first look at Field of Fire Deluxe Edition from GMT Games. This is designed by Ben Hall. It is for ages 14 and up, plays in 1 to 2 hours per scenario, and does carry an MSRP of $104. Let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the deluxe edition of Fields of Fire. Do want to mention that the fine folks over at GMT Games provided me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. Very important for you to know that. And we're not going to look at every single item inside this box because there's quite a bit packed in here. But I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. And we'll talk about the game a bit as well. So this is a solitaire game for one player. Let's take a peek at the back here. I'm not going to read all of this, but Fields of Fire is a solitaire game system that puts you in the role of a rifle company commander in conflicts throughout the 20th and 21st century. The game uses no dice or standard paper maps and is instead run by 2 card decks. The terrain decks are based on a specific region and are used to build the maps for the various missions your company must perform. The action deck serves many purposes in controlling combat, command, and control, and various activity attempts. The units of your company are counters representing headquarters elements, squads, weapons teams, forward observers, individual vehicles or helicopters. Each campaign is formed of several missions. A mission can be played in a single game session of about 2 to 3 hours. The player manages the company experience and replacements between missions. Funny enough, on GMT's website, they indicate missions take 1 to 2 hours. And then if you go over to Board Game Geek, you'll find that it says 3 to 6 hours. That's like, okay. It's like, All right. So the background was moving a little bit. There you go. Let's zoom in just a hair. Hopefully, the autofocus on the Panasonic behaves this evening. Pete Racklich says, I appreciate my selective taste in games. Glad to check out new stuff they'd have never known about otherwise. That happens a lot. It really, really does. People find out about role-playing games they've never heard of, board games they've never heard of. And that's why, and I mean, GMT is pretty much the major conflict simulation publisher out there. I mean, there are other war game companies, of course, but GMT is pretty much the par excellence as far as it goes. So we've got our series rules for this 3rd edition, this deluxe edition. As you can see, I pointed out before, this is a big box. A lot of stuff in here. So one of the first things I want to mention about Fields of Fire is the complexity. If I remember correctly, this is indicated as a complexity level 6 on a scale of 1 to 9 by GMT Games. And I say this all the time. They usually lowball their complexity levels. So there is a lot going on with Fields of Fire. The first edition, when it came out, it wasn't impossible to figure things out, but it didn't really teach the game to you in the most intuitive way. So this is a new rule book. To my understanding, we will see the game actually kind of presented as far as a learning experience where we're going to start off with the basics, then we're going to add various other elements to the gameplay as we learn the game. So one of the first war games to do that and do that extremely well was Conflict of Heroes from Academy Games. Conflict of Heroes Awakening the Bear did a really good job of laying out the basics and then saying, okay, here we go. We're going to toss this on, toss that on. I see Chris Lundgren's rocking on out. Good to see you, Chris. See you in August. So just taking a peek here, it's talking about preparing for a mission. Choose a campaign and a mission. We should have different campaign books available to us. So we're going to have campaigns that take place during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. You're going to organize your company. You're going to designate command relationship of unassigned company units. Distribute your assets. You've got your staging areas. So here we've got the action card giving us a breakdown of the action card. Using the rule book. So basic gameplay, sections 4 to 6 give an overview of basic gameplay. Section 4 explains the command structure in detail and how orders are passed down. All of the actions available to units are provided in the action menus in this section and also on the player aid. Section 5 explains how the map is used. It covers movement, terrain, and how line of sight is affected. Finally, Section 6 explains the basic principles of combat. In general, your units and the enemies will engage each other automatically according to the priorities explained in this section. As commanding officer, it's your job to provide leadership to give your units an edge over the enemy. Outflank their units, decide where to concentrate fire, when to close with the enemy and engage in point-blank combat, and when to drop back and call in fire support. DB says, oh, I just spent too much money at Exalted Funeral. You can let them know that I sent you their way. DB said, did I need a shirt and a hoodie? No, I did not, but they looked cool. So here we've got our sequence of play. So here's an example of a mission here. So once again, as I read from the back of the box, we have a terrain deck. So this is the terrain ahead of our units in the game. So that's how that's laid out. We've got our staging area for our company, and then we'll have contacts, which we will reveal as we move closer in on the terrain. A really, really interesting system. And if you like challenging solitaire games, this is one that should be on your radar, especially if you're interested in Second World War, Korea. There's 2 Korea campaigns, I think, in the box here. And of course, we have Vietnam too. So we have offensive missions, combat patrols, enemy activity phase, mutual capture and retreat phase, anti-tank combat and vehicle movement phase, mutual combat phase, cleanup phase. We have reattempt. So here's our command and control. The core mechanic of Fields of Fire is that HQs obtain a number of commands and spend them on actions to control themselves and other units. Cards are drawn to determine the number of commands that the HQ has for the turn, which have a variety of modifiers. This represents the limited time, energy, and situational awareness of the headquarters during the turn. Commands can be saved for use in later turns with some limitations, which represents the HQ taking the time to create a plan of action. The act of exchanging commands for actions is called orders, ordering, or issuing an order. Commands are an abstraction of the HQ activity, issuing verbal or written orders to effectively communicate the intent of the HQ. Looks like we're going to start with some examples of play. Kind of cool how we've got this coil-bound rule book too. This is not something we normally will see with a GMT Games release. So that is a nice extra that we've got. So we had some combat actions. It's got quite a few here. Attempt to remove a pinned marker. Detach team. Attempt to make a grenade attack. Attempt to concentrate fire. Attempt to spot. It's telling us the cost in those actions as far as the cost and commands. So here it's showing a phone network. So field telephones. So you have to be able to connect. That's kind of cool. So we have radios showing us how radio networks would work. So as you can see, this has a pretty solid level of complexity to it. So we get into our terrain, and it's going to explain our line of sight. So the borders of the card determine the line of sight. There's a border around the perimeter of each terrain card that consists of white and or dark green segments. Dark borders block the tracing of lines of sight, but white borders do not. Check the color of the side of the corner borders in the direction you want to check line of sight. Line of sight is traced along the 8 straight lines only from a card to the 8 adjacent cards and beyond. Thus, you may not trace line of sight left, right, over 2 cards, and then up, down, diagonally 1. Regardless of the color of the borders on terrain cards, you may automatically trace line of sight into all adjacent cards considered close range. For line of sight to pass through to a second card, long range, and third card, very long range, both the entry and exit sides of the cards passed through must have white borders. Elevation. So we're also going to have various different chits, tokens that we'll be using on these terrain cards too. And of course, terrain cards will offer cover. So here we get into combat. The basic combat principle. Combat by units with basic VOF, S, A/S, H, pinned, is automatic. It does not require commands. With each on-map activity, all units must be checked to see if they're eligible to open fire. If not already engaged, units with a clear line of sight and range to a spotted eligible target, any non-casualty units on the opposing side, will immediately open fire. Any activity during the course of a turn may result in units engaging. This applies equally to friendly and enemy units. However, enemy and friendly units have slightly different priorities when multiple targets are available. The resolution of all this activity is consolidated in the combat effects segment. During this segment only, VOFs and PDFs are not updated as changes. Combat results occur. Updating of VOFs and PDFs restarts in the cleanup phase. So we have engaging, opening fire, continuing to fire, volume of fire, that's the VOF. Looks like a nice detailed bunch of examples here. Primary direction of fire is the PDF. Pete Strakowitz says they're a victim of Exalted Funeral as well. But more importantly, the items were marked down significantly, no tax, no shipping fees. So Pete Strakowitz, isn't it free shipping? Is it at $100? I remember when I got some Black Friday stuff before I had any relationship with Exalted Funeral, like I do now. I remember making sure my order, I think it was $100. to get the free shipping. So we've got combat effects. Miss, pin, hit. The hit effects area of the action card is grouped according to the experience level of the unit. Under each level of experience is 1 or 2 letters. So we have casualty, paralyzed team, litter team, fire team. So a casualty means one step of the unit has been eliminated. Paralyzed team's probably just stuck. Although I would think that would be pinned. The litter team, one step of the unit has become a litter team. Place a litter team on the card. Reduce the original unit by 1 step. This was the unit's last step. The original unit is removed from play. And fire team says 1 step of the unit converts to a fire team. And then we also have assault team. We've got rallying and reconstruction, weapons and fire support, small arms, machine guns, tripod mounted machine guns, grazing fire, overhead fire, grenade attacks, rocket launchers, rifle grenades, mines and claymores, flamethrower attacks. We have the enemy. Enemy units are placed on the map during the potential contact evaluation segment of the combat phase. The setup I thought it says restrictions. Instructions for each mission indicate which enemy units are to be used in the campaign along with their starting experience until reduced to LATs, and the tactics column to use when determining their actions in the enemy activity check segment. As described in the basic combat principle, friendly and enemy units will open fire on each other automatically. And besides some exceptions noted in the section, all rules thus far mentioned apply equally to enemy as well as friendly units. Pretty wild. I have a feeling, I think the camera's out of sync again, for crying out loud. Yes. Damn it. I tell you. I thought I checked that before I started. Yeah, now it's close enough. It's close enough now. Anti-tank combat. So we start getting into some vehicle rules, transportation and assault planning. We have a helicopter control card, landing zone, inbound, outbound, and our pickup zone. Playing a campaign. Although playing individual missions will provide you with a great game experience, playing a series of missions as a campaign will give you a much deeper insight into command of a company. When playing a campaign, the actions you take after a mission are as important as those within the mission, and they are just as much a part of the game. This needs a balance between mission accomplishment and sustaining the company across the campaign is a completely different dynamic than playing out a single standalone mission. The player sets the conditions for the next mission based how experience is distributed and replacements are integrated. When playing a campaign, you must successfully complete a mission before moving on to the next one. The mission instructions will indicate what constitutes the successful completion of a mission and the number of times it may be attempted. Aha! So you can gain experience during a mission. We have skills that can be purchased, winning a campaign. We've got urban warfare. Multi-story buildings, breaching. And of course, as you can see, plenty of various different examples of play. So Captain Infinity says, oh, it's focused enough. Not focused, out of sync. So it looked like it was out of sync by about half a second, maybe even a full second. Like I said, it's really weird. I have to screw around with OBS, and it's never the same, like the audio, right? So there is a delay on the audio. So it syncs up with the video. That never changes. It's always the same. So it's like, So here we've got Rifle Company Infantry Regiment. This is our basic platoon and company training. So this is going to be our rule book to get us started. So this is going to give us step-by-step examples. So essentially what we're looking at here is what we would find with playbooks with many of the GMT games. One of my favorite aspects of GMT Games releases are their playbooks. So this is our field manual. We've got a few of these. So this is going to be our basics. So attacking an enemy position. The objective of Run 2 is to add an enemy position. The enemy position is known and present on the map throughout. For this exercise, in addition to the counters we used in Run 1, we will need foxholes, field fortification, and a German light machine gun team. We also need the enemy activity check hierarchies, player aid, a few VOF and PDF counters, and some LAT units. And of course, we have different decks for each of the campaigns. So DB's rocking out. Good to see you once again, DB. See you in early August. So we're not going to page through every single item here, but also looks like this is an example of play, right? Yep, step-by-step example of play. So this is giving us the basics. Very nicely done. All right, so that is the infantry regiment. Now we look at infantry and airborne battle groups. So these are advanced operations. You know what? I think I'm going to lock in our focus here. So we've got our mission planning, another example of play. Vehicles and anti-tank combat. Another example here. Wow. A lot has changed since the first edition. That is for certain. Mo's Game Table is popping on in. Good to see you, Mo. Says this edition is finally broken down in a better fashion than the previous ones in order to help people get into the game faster. Takes some effort to learn, but this new format will be easier. Yep. Talked about that earlier in the video, that this is a pretty complex game. I know GMT indicates like a 6 complexity, which I'm like, I think they're lowballing it there. But yes, the first edition that came out, a lot of people picked it up because it looked really cool, and then they just felt overwhelmed. So that has changed. As you can see, we've got all these various different booklets to get you started, get you up to speed. Mark Hawkswell and Raven are popping on in. Raven says the game and its scenarios are the major reason they joined the Air Force instead of the Army. I can believe that. Okay, so this is standalone mission and example of play. Pretty soon we're going to get into our campaign books. So once again, we've got an example of play. This is walking us through the setup and everything else. Very nice. So you may notice on the 9th Infantry badge there, it says Manchu. And the reason for that is because of the Boxer Rebellion. That's why the Army 9th Infantry is called the Manchus. So this is Vietnam, I think. Yep. It's our Vietnam campaign mission book, December 1966 to December 1968. So we're going to get our brigade organization. Looks like some new rules, some notes, like historical notes there. And then our organization and equipment tables. Then we'll get into our missions here. What do we got? 4 pages for each mission. This is going to give us our layout, how many cards we're going to be utilizing. We got different events. I guess we probably have 10 missions. Mission 4, the Horseshoe. On the afternoon of 29 August, a VC concentration was spotted by a reconnaissance helicopter from Delta Troop. 3-4 Air Cavalry. The area was subjected to heavy bombardment with over 5,000 rounds fired. The mission is to insert 2 companies in the first lift, followed by a third in the second lift, to sweep the area and conduct a battle damage assessment of the artillery and airstrikes. The 269th Combat Aviation Battalion, Black Barons, will support with the 187th and 188th Assault Helicopter Companies, each providing UH-1 slicks and teams of gunships. So it gives us a situation, our attachments, the fire support that we've got available, the headquarter events, enemy force packages, Vietcong contact packages. So here's mission 5, Operation Yellowstone. Mission 7A and B. Well, that's actually a bit longer. Maybe we've got 8 missions because I'm running out of pages. So, mission 8, Mole City. Mission not included. That's kind of wild. So what did we have? Did we have 8 missions then? Yes, we had 8 missions in this book. So that is our Vietnam campaign. Next up, we have our, looks like Korea. Yep, August, October 1951. We'll flip through this real quickly. Tell you what, GMT Games did not skimp on the examples of play and the visual pop of these rules, which I appreciate. And of course, these aren't the rules. These are the campaign books. But even the rules, we had a lot of color examples and such. Heartbreak Ridge. I can guess we're going to have 8 missions in this one as well. That's mission 7. Now we might only have, oh yeah, there's 8. Attack on Hill 1040. As you know, the larger offensive is underway. Operation Touchdown will roll the Reds back. 3-9 got us up this hill on the 6th, and 2-9 took Hill 1005 yesterday. Our mission is to pass through 2-9 and take the last height of this ridge, Hill 1040. Then this ridge is ours. There you go. So another 8 missions there. I think we've got, as I mentioned before, I think we've got 2 Korea campaigns. Yes, we do. This is August, September 1950. Got our historical notes. Then, of course, we're going to have our World War II. No, we do not have a Boxer Rebellion campaign. So it looks like each of our campaign books have 8 missions. Now, let's see. Mission 6, Battle for Hill 201. 2nd Division launched a 3-regiment attack to push the NKPA 4th, 9th, and 2nd Divisions back across the Naktong River. The Manchus were on the left of the division, and the commanding height in their sector was Hill 201. The NKPA 9th Division doggedly defended their stronghold. The Incheon landing on 15 September took the North Koreans by surprise. As the news spread and the realization that they were about to be cut off, the NKPA needed to hold the advancing U.S. and ROK forces long enough to pull out what they could salvage. The Manchus need to take the heights and prevent the NKPA from making an orderly withdrawal. Looks like each mission might also have some special rules to them. Oh, we have 7 missions in this. Gotcha. And our final mission book, Normandy. It's our Normandy mission book. Now, keep in mind, each of these campaigns have decks. So we're going to take a look at some counters next. Got some play aids, I'm sure. We got special rules for the campaign. I'm guessing we'll have 8 missions here. Well, maybe not. Maybe only 7. Holy cow. We only had 6. Oh, no, there we go. There's 7. I was going to say, wait a second. Really? It's like, come on. All right. So all of these, all 4 campaign books there. 3 of them had 8 missions. 1 of them had 7. That is a lot of missions for you to have for your campaigns. So these are all the punch boards, our counter sheets. So looks like these are informational counters here. Oh, might as well zoom in since we're going to be looking at cards and counters here. There we go. And of course, double-sided. Solid thickness on these as well. Look like more Well, no, we got some fire teams in that here. So we've got some armor there, helicopters as well. So we have 6 counter sheets, which I would expect quite a few counter sheets, seeing that we have 3 different conflicts. There we go. Kind of give you an idea the back of those. Then we've got a lot of player aids. So charts and tables, action menus. So some of the actions: activate and subordinate HQ or staff, dispatch a runner, switch radio phone to a different network, detach team, move within a card. Of course, one of the terrain cards. Most Game Table says, nice fancy camera controls. I need that. Maybe when I retire, I'll get that set up for my channel. Funny enough, the lens I've got on the Panasonic right now is the kit lens. The lens that comes with, well, you can buy it without a lens. All cameras can be bought without lenses. But yeah, it's the lens that comes with it. And funny enough, it's one of the nicest kit lenses I've ever seen. I think the kit lens goes for about $600. So here we've got our Normandy campaign. This is one of the Korea campaigns on the back. There's our other Korea campaign with Heartbreak Ridge. And then our Vietnam campaign. Mo says, I'm an old school clown still using a camcorder for their stuff. No DSLR yet. These are not DSLRs, though. These are pure, what the hell do they consider it? These have like electronic shutters and that, although I can use a manual shutter. Here's our hotel control card. Here's our sequence of play. Aerosol planning card. First wave. Yep. First, second, third, fourth. Aerosol planning for missions 4 and 7 and mission 6. Our weapons chart, vehicle and anti-tank weapons. Combat resolution for anti-tank and modifiers. Lots and lots of stuff here. Drawing and placing enemy packages. A lot of options on that card. Enemy activity check hierarchies. That's going to be all through that. See if they take no action, if they move, seek cover, fall back, attempt to make grenade attacks. So we've got a few different tables like that. And this is our turn sheet for World War II and Korea. And then we have Vietnam. This is our command display here. I guess that's what they're considered, command displays. But they do have, oh, I thought these were turn markers. It's not. It's down here. It's like, okay. But we still have our turns here. All right, so this is the insert. We've got a bunch of baggies. GMT's always nice enough to give us a bunch of baggies for all the counters. So this is our Normandy deck. So we're going to have a few different decks, I would take a guess. Here's our action deck. So we use the same action deck regardless of the campaign. All right. We get ye old hobby knife. Yeah, this is good content, right? Wow, Jeff's taking this shrink wrap off of cards. Whoa. Oh, man, the suspense. It's killing me. Yep. Terrain deck for the map, action deck for gameplay, as Mo is pointing out for us. Sean O'Donnell says the Pathfinder adventure card game caught them off guard with no maps, but it was pretty satisfying. Yeah, you know what? I wish that had done better, the second edition. Because there were a few releases for the first edition. Second edition, not so much. Uh-oh. Due to an error in our print files, 17 cards in the Normandy deck numbered 9 through 24 and 49 were incorrectly printed. So this is our replacement here. So we're supposed to replace them with those. All right, so there's Normandy. There's Vietnam. Okay, the rest of it's Vietnam, yes. This is the first of the Korea decks. Yep. And then that's the second. So just giving you an example. So we've got hills, village, rice paddy. And remember, the green border means you can trace line of sight through it, whereas the white border, if you're more than one card away, then that is blocked. So these are digital cameras. They're a little bit different. DSLs, well, for one, I get Panasonic because Panasonic does not have any sort of limit on your time of shooting video. One of the only ones. There are some Sonys, but they tend to be really expensive Sony cameras that you don't have a limit. But the reason why they have this limit of it's 29 minutes, 59 seconds is because 30 minutes or more uninterrupted recording time makes that camera a video camera. Whereas if the camera has settings that prevent you from shooting video longer than 29 minutes, 59 seconds, then that is a photography camera. They are taxed way differently. So Agile Monk points out they've got one of those Sonys that doesn't have the limit. I think with the Sonys, I think it was the 6400 on, had no limit. And that was one of the first things I wanted to make sure I did when I invested some money in some more professional cameras, I guess I'll say, was to make sure that I was getting cameras that did not have that limit. And Panasonic cameras are really designed for video. I mean, they're good photography cameras, but they tend to have way more settings and extra bells and whistles for video at the same price point of other cameras that have far less. So like if you took a Panasonic and you put it next to a Sony at the same price range, you're going to have way more bells and whistles for video on that Panasonic as opposed to the Sony. Now, the big drawback of the Panasonics, I don't know if they finally solved this problem or not, because my cameras are, they're a few years old now, is the autofocus. Not great. Autofocus is not all that great. It is like the biggest drawback on the two Panasonic cameras I've got. And one Panasonic had it's actually the cheaper of the two. It's the one that I'm looking at right now. That had an MSRP when it first came out new of about $1,800. That's not what I paid for it. And then the one here, this is the better of the two. When this came out, I think the MSRP on it was $2,600. Yeah, it's like, wow. And these are not top of the line cameras by any stretch. So, but yeah, they get the job done. They do all right. All right, so just kind of taking a peek at some of the terrain cards here. Rubber plantation, elephant grass is Vietnam, rice paddies, jungle, bamboo, open terrain, village. So let's take a peek at the action deck, because there's a lot of stuff. Agile Monk says you've rocked your talents and capabilities. Do an impressive job. I try. Okay, so we had more Normandy cards here. So did I keep those other Normandy cards separate? I believe I did. So this is the action deck. So we've got number there. We got a range here. It's probably when you total up, if I remember right, I think you total up all your modifiers and stuff to see what the combat result is. Hit effects, cover, grenade attack, rally. There you go. Pretty cool. So, as I mentioned, there is a lot going on with Fields of Fire. So I know some folks out there were probably thinking, geez, seriously, $104 MSRP? That seems like quite a bit. Well, as you can see, this box is packed. And in my opinion, one of the big things that I look for when we're talking about like the pricing, especially of a board game, is what kind of replayability am I looking at? Is this going to be a game that is going to be able to occupy my time for a good chunk? I mean, taking a look at this, 4 campaigns, all those missions. There's a lot of value, in my opinion, packed into this box for a $104 war game. And it's a solitaire game, so it's not like you need anybody to come on over and play. So, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. Now, granted, you got a lot of player aids and stuff like that, but you know, some solitaire games like, oh my gosh, the presidential one that GMT Games did, I'm trying to remember if they kept the title of Mr. President for it. That was like How in the world are you going to fit that on a regular table? It was like massive, the huge layout that you had to have. It was insane. And it was kind of funny. It took forever for that to come out because it was Gene Billingsley's baby. Gene is the G in the GMT. And it took forever to come out because Gene wanted everything in there. It's like anything that possibly could happen, he wanted it in there. There you go, Agile Monk, Mr. President, the American presidency, 2001 to 2020. Oh, he's talking second edition. No, I had the first edition of it. Agile Monk asked, did I get all my funding support for Gen Con? Am I ready for the mission there and back again? Well, it will all have to do with the auction. I've had some years where the auction was great. I've had other years where the auction was like, well, I've never had a terrible auction. I don't know. It's kind of funny. We got a few minutes. I'll do a 2-hour show tonight, even though we did a 2.5-hour show last night. Yowza. I kind of have the feeling that more people are going to try to hang on to their money at this Gen Con than most other Gen Cons. It's just a vibe I've got. As far as companies out there, I think there are a lot of companies that are really, really keeping their fingers crossed with Gen Con this year because of all the nonsense that's going on with Diamond. Now, I know there's some lawsuits that have been filed against Diamond and their plan to liquidate their stock. So, but there's a lot of companies there that they paid for a product and they've got no return on it right now because it's sitting in warehouses and Diamond plans on selling it. One of those companies that's kind of screwed, but they look like they're just going to hunker down and just kind of face the headwinds is Paizo Inc. Because Paizo Inc. had the vast majority of their inroads to places like Borders and stuff like that by way of Diamond. And they've already said that outside of like some game stores and ordering directly from Paizo Inc., the August and September releases you're not going to find in stores. So kind of wild. Madman says there and back again. Sounds like a job for a hobbit. Agile Monk says, yeah, they agree. Wallets are going to be tighter. And with what California is doing to affect all of U.S. fuel prices, etc., costs will hit everybody. We got costs hitting us left and right from all different directions. Crazy. Speaking of crazy, the Madman says the bankruptcy laws related to the Diamond situation are crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad news. No, I don't think Steven from Roll for Combat is hanging with us because I know he did a couple of videos because he's kind of fucked. But I guess he was saying he may not be as fucked as he thought he was. So yes, Agile Monk says tariffs, etc., Diamond, etc. Yeah, it's all this shit on top of more shit. And it's sort of like, I'm not getting into politics or anything. These are just facts, So I know a lot of folks out there are, and I'm one of them, are concerned that, where are the prices going to stop? Because every time you turn around, everything's more expensive. And then it's like, oh, do you enjoy orange juice? Which I don't really drink orange juice. I mean, I will, but it's not like, oh, I have a glass of orange juice every morning. They're talking about, well, orange juice prices are going to skyrocket because we import so many oranges. And it's like, really? I didn't know that. I was like, we import tons of oranges? The fuck happened to Florida and California? So look what the hell happened. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, I'm going to talk to some of the publishers off the record about, how they're doing. Wolfgang Bauer is always a good one. And Dominic McDowell from Cubicle 7 Games. They're always really good to chew the fat with. And, they know any conversation they're going to have with me is not outside of, if it's on camera, is not for public consumption, right? It's, that's why I know about stuff that's coming out when I go to Gen Con. I know that stuff that's in the pipeline for different companies and stuff, but I can't tell you about it. So it's like, okay. Raven says US dollar took the lowest 6-month drop this year since 1973. Chris Lindgren says their wife had to get a Boost mobile phone tonight to replace her broken one. It was almost $200 for the phones that Boost sells. Shit. So Agile Monk just said, Stephen over at Roll for Combat is relying on getting back all product that was sent to Diamond after January 16th when they declared bankruptcy, then continue to run their business. Well, one of the other things that hurts companies out there, because there are, comic companies that are seriously in trouble because of this too. Probably on average, probably in bigger trouble. Image Comics. If I were at Comic-Con this year and if I ran into Todd McFarlane, because Todd would recognize me, I would look to ask him off the record, how bad is it for Image? Because I think they are probably going to be the biggest of the comic companies that really is getting its ass kicked because of this Diamond nonsense. But the funny thing is, it was in the wind. It was in the wind for a year that Diamond had problems. They had real issues. So, but then again, if they're your only avenue to get your product out there, what are you going to do? So, Pete Rockledge says, I'd like to think Stephen will do exceptionally well, putting out great games with amazing designers like Arcane Library and Professor DM. What did they give you money to say this, Pete? What's going on? Actually, it's Draculich because it's Pete Draculich, so it's not Pete. They got an amazing lineup in the works. No offense to Stephen whatsoever, but I understand a little bit how Stephen operates. And this shift to like the Shadow Dark stuff is all calculated. I don't think it's because Stephen has any, great love of, not to say Shadow Dark's bad. I like Shadow Dark. I think Shadow Dark's cool. And Kelsey always seemed cool. I've never met her in person, but I had emailed. Although she misunderstood something that I did on a live show one time. And I was like, no, I'm not knocking Shadow Dark or you. Anyway, but I think it's more of a calculation of taking advantage of a system which is popular that doesn't demand much from a third party. It's kind of the vibe I get. So Agile Monk says, Kelsey is an angel in this hobby, as well as her wife, good peeps. Yeah, like I said, she always strikes me as good people. I like to promote good people. You know, there's a reason why there are some companies out there that you never hear me talk about. And, you know, they're not little bitty companies. Now, there are some companies I just don't have any sort of relationship with. So if I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I've got 6 news pieces today that I could use, and 5 of them are for companies that maybe I've reviewed stuff for them before, or I picked up some of their stuff and I really like it. I will include that ahead of, well, I don't know, I just stumbled across this. Now, unless it's something that strikes me as being pretty interesting, then like today when I did the Kids in the Attic Folklore Americana, I have never seen anything from Kids in the Attic, although I think they do Sleepy Hollow. I think Sleepy Hollow is one of their games, but I thought it looked pretty interesting, and it's a small publisher, so I tend to try to share that stuff too. But we'll see what happens. Agile Monk says, yes, there are some truly bad actors there in this industry. I will not talk negative about any of them, but I don't give them my money. I'll talk negative about them off the record. Like Elliot and I will, like, it's a lot of times it's either on our drive down to Gen Con or a drive back from Gen Con. We start, I give Elliot a lot of the inside baseball of the industry and stuff. And it never fails that it's like companies that didn't treat him especially well when he was a big actor with the gaming gang. Yeah, we'll talk about them and stuff like that. So yeah. So we talk a little inside baseball. Raven says they're using Shadow Dark and Adventure Conqueror King's system as the old school basic advanced D&D divide. Mayman says that's why they like to promote Savage Worlds. They love the system, flexibility for any setting. So Stray Kismet has popped on in, says, I wonder when Jeff is going to start his RPG, The Gang, and have all his mods on the cover ready to moderate. I am planning on playtesting the role-playing game down at Gen Con with Elliot. Remember, gosh, now I'm trying to remember who it was. Reached out to me because they saw one of the episodes of Let's Build a Fantasy Role-Play Game. And they said if I ever decided I wanted to put that down on paper and release it, they'll do it. I was like, really? I'm trying to remember who that was. I got the email. I save my emails. I can easily go find it. Sean Dahl says, Shadow Dark got maliciously attacked for their good marketing. There are designers who lean on marketing with no substance, but just as Shadow Dark core book calls the lie to that nonsense. Okay, this is going to be our last topic, and then I'm going to call it an evening. I'm going to disagree a little bit with Sean. A little bit. I think part of the reason why Shadow Dark was attacked the way it was is because Kelsey's gay. I do think that had something to do with it. Now, that wasn't why people said that they were talking shit. Because the thing is, funny enough, I mean, we've seen some odd approaches to getting Kickstarter backing, I guess we'll say. I'll put it that way. And it wasn't like Kelsey and her team took some weird radical approach. She approached the people who are the influencers in role-playing games. And I thought out of all of them, wasn't it Ben Milton? Wasn't it? I thought it was Ben Milton was the one that she had to pay to do the video, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I have charged publishers for Kickstarter videos, and I tell people right up front, hey, I'm being paid for this video. I don't wait until the credits run and then throw a disclaimer after everybody's gone. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Man versus Meeple. I don't know if they still do that. I doubt it. They probably cleaned up their act a little bit. But there was just a lot of piss and vinegar thrown at Shadow Dark, both during its Kickstarter run, once it hit $1 million, and when it came out. You know, a lot of, like I said, something seemed off. That there was an extra impetus for people to knock Shadow Dark. And you got to remember, these are people who hadn't seen a goddamn thing of it. They probably hadn't even downloaded the quick start. Probably. So, Chris Lundgren says, I never knew she was gay. She's cute as hell. But so what? She's gay. I like the game. Exactly, right? I mean, I've heard shit from people that doesn't make the show. The comments don't stick on videos. I don't share the emails I've received where I'll have people bitch me out because I shared a review or a first look at something that was created by someone who's transgender, or maybe someone on their team was transgender, or maybe that company tends to be friendlier towards people with alternate lifestyles. It's like, what the fuck, man? I talk about this, especially with, not on camera and that, but with, people I know. And so why would who somebody sleeps with have anything to do with anything? Unless I live in their house and I sleep in their bedroom. Then yeah, maybe it'd be like, hey, you want to keep that down? Other than that, doesn't matter. If you're good people, you're good people. That's it. So, yeah, that's how I kind of got that vibe because I've seen that kind of stuff before. I've seen, like, when I reviewed Haunted West from Chris Spivey, who has never been anything but nice to me. I interviewed him one time at Gen Con, but I had emailed him and stuff before that. And since then, I follow him on some various social media platforms, and he follows me too. And I started getting comments about Haunted West. Oh, Haunted West is shit. People should buy Weird Frontiers. Isn't that it? Isn't that what it's called? The one that's based on Dungeon Crawl Classics, which I have a written review of on the website. And they were talking about how Chris Spivey's racist. Oh, I asked him a question about Haunted West, and he told me that the game wasn't designed for me. And it's like, so what? I didn't bother asking because I'm just like, fuck you, get out of here. I thought to myself, well, what was the question you asked him? That's what I was thinking. So like, did you ask him, hey, is this role-playing game all woke? And I would think, well, if you got to ask that question, no, this game's probably not for you. I would agree. So don't get it. Just, but yeah, I got, the video review got more than the normal number of thumbs down on it, far more than, because I think last time I peeked, and I don't look at this too often, the overall positive to negative was over 97%. But I'll tell you right now, the Haunted West was not 97%. It wasn't 50-50 either, but still, it was like, man, it's like, come on, we're talking about fucking games. Let's see. Somebody just threw some, okay. Raven said, I wonder what Jeff will think about the state of Daggerheart, Draw Steel, Cosmere RPG, DC 20, and Shadow Dark this time next year. Shadow Dark's been out for a while. Shadow Dark has been out for quite some time. Raven says those people that crapped on Kelsey were just jealous. Yeah, that's probably part of it too. Not probably. Yes, it is part of it. Agile Monk with a $20 super chat says, I'm one of the most honest, transparent, and legitimate reviewers on the YouTubes and interwebs. Well, thank you. I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't have anything to hide. It's like, whatever. I'm really transparent. And if people don't like my honest review and they decide, well, we're not sending you anything anymore. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Wizards of the Coast. Although I think they've got a new PR company. Ellie and I are going to the D&D party. I'm like, we got invited. Might as well go. We went to the one last year. That's how I got the player's handbook. But I'm going to talk to him. If it's still 360 PR, I'm going to be like, whatever. Anywho, as far as these role-playing games that are out, like that are just hitting now or on the horizon, like Draw Steel and DC 20. What was it? Wasn't it Steven over at Roll for Combat who just shared a video? They were supposed to be announcing this, what is it? Deathbringer? Is that it? Am I remembering that right? Because I didn't watch the video. I heard about the video secondhand. Kelsey Dion and Professor DM are, and Steven from Roll for Combat they're going to publish, I think it's Professor DM's role-playing game, which is built on Shadow Dark with some, tweaks and changes and stuff. And I think it's called, yes, there you go. Agile Monk says Deathbringer. And I had heard that the video really didn't tell you anything. So it's like, I don't know. Agile Monk says the new Castles and Crusade starter set is fantastic, a great price point and value, and so designed for new castle keepers and players. Like I said before, I have no idea what happened with Troll Lord Games. No clue. None whatsoever. Because I promoted them a lot because I like Castles and Crusades. And I'm guessing it boils down to the Astonishing Adventures review I did for the player's book. I had critiques about and the author didn't think I read the book. And it was like, so it's been mentioned by some people in chat here because they saw where he accused me of not reading the book. I have not seen that, but I believe people in chat, which is not the case. I read the book. I did. I read the book. And I was like, it's fine. I didn't say, oh God, it was awful. Oh, it's terrible. Don't bother buying it. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. My biggest critique of it was being promoted as a genre-less role-playing game. That it is, you could do anything you want. And it had been completely revamped from the first edition. And that's not the case. It's still focused on pulp action, which is fine. But don't promote it as it being genreless, because it's not. The main focus is on pulp action, which was the focus of the first book. That was it. So yes, Agile Monk says, yes, I think Jason Bay didn't appreciate the AA review. Agile Monk says, you gave it a fair rating. Yeah, I didn't. Confas asks, can I post links here? Depends on what it's to. I know there's some stuff that people try to post in chat that just YouTube won't let them do it. So, Agile Monk says, we need to get this Troll Lord Games situation fixed, Jeff. I know them all and they love you over there. They can't love me over there. They can't, because I reached out to them. I'm not the one who stopped answering their emails. They're the ones who didn't answer my emails. And so there, Agile Monk says, no, they won't work. Links won't work. So final thing. Yeah, I know. I already said, well, this will be the final topic. We're not going until 9:30 Central tonight. I'll tell you that right now. Because the thing is, my dad normally goes to bed about this time. So I got things to do. Agile Monk asks, would you like me to dig into Yeah, sure. By all means, feel free. I mean, the reality is, I think they're going to be at Gen Con. They were last year. I talked to Steven, did an interview. I would do another interview with Steven. Steven's a fun interview. And if you checked out the interview we did at Gamehole Con, it's fun. We're kidding around, joking around. Like I said, I'm not the one who just went to radio silence. But the thing is, they've done it before. This was like the third time that, I was sending them emails, asking them questions about stuff. I was asking about the starter set. I was asking about how the Foundry module was going along. It wasn't just me saying, hey, it's Jeff, send me stuff. It's been a while since I got something to review. Send me something. No, never did that. There were a couple of times I said, well, just so you know, I don't have anything to share from Troll Lord Games. I don't have anything to shoot video on. I've covered everything. But what was the last? I think the last email I got was from one of their marketing people. As Agile Monk points out, Chuck is going to be at Gen Con. Chuck is, well, he was their main marketing person. I don't know if he still is, because they brought someone else in. She was super nice too. I've never had anybody be mean to me. And I got an email after Gamehole Con from this other person. And she said Her name's Grace. There you go. Yes, Agile Monk is Grace. I like, yes. I'm not when I don't mention people's names as my contacts, it's not that I don't know their names. It's that I don't necessarily know if those people want their names out there. Yeah, Grace is fine. So anyway, Grace sent me an email giving me an update on the Foundry module. And that was in, I think, early November of last year. That was it. That was the last, and I sent 4 or 5 emails about once a month trying to see, hey, so what's cooking? What's going on? I tried to get the limited edition, the starter set, but they were already sold out. So I had reached out to Grace about that, and she said, no, they're all gone. I said, okay, that's fine. And that was it. That was the last time I heard anything from her, from Troller Games. So I had sent 4 or 5 emails, got nothing back. So I finally sent an email. And I said, hey, you know what? We're done. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know why you don't respond to my emails, but I'm not going to waste my time anymore. And I said, you know what? You haven't responded to any of the emails I've sent over the last 6 months, so you don't need to respond to this one. Because, I'm a human being. I have feelings. One thing I hate is when and I'm not saying Troller Games did this, but I have had publishers do this. I hate when a publisher just takes me for granted. I can't stand that, because the thing is, there are a lot of publishers out there that I do not share coverage of, or I haven't reviewed anything from, who it's not because I have something against them. It's just, I am not aware of them, or maybe it's because, I have a finite amount of time I can devote to this. And then they have companies where it's like, yeah, whatever. Like Paizo Inc. I can't tell you how much Paizo Inc. irritates me to no end, because they don't bother to repost not just my videos, other content creators' videos where we're doing first looks or reviews. Like we just did the Paizo preview Gen Con 2025 edition on Tuesday. They gave it a like. They gave it a like on multiple social media platforms, but they did not repost it. And it's kind of like, there's one outlet that I'll see them repost from time to time, and it's is it Gallant Goblin? I think that's his moniker. I don't know. I don't watch other content creators I don't watch other content creators in the game space really, just because I don't have time. It's not that I have something against any of these people. I just don't have the time. And a lot of times I don't want their thought process to interfere with my thought process. So, but yeah, Agile Monk, if you want to reach out to them, want to reach out to somebody there, and yeah, I have no issue with that. That's fine. They have my email. They know how to get in contact with me. I know somebody had asked about somebody forwarded me an email where they asked, hey, what's going on? How come the Gaming Gang doesn't have any coverage of you anymore, or blah, blah, blah. It was Jeff's coverage that got me buying Troller Game stuff. And Grace had responded with something like, Jeff has moved on to other things. And I'm like, well, yeah, that is true. I mean, and then the person who had forwarded me the email, which I thought was kind of weird. It's like, I didn't really need to see that. Responded to Grace's email by saying, well, you've lost a customer. It was like, Jeff mentioned that you just ignored his emails for 6 months. So you got what you deserved or something like that. I was like, okay. Anyway, Mike says, maybe that's one reason why some game companies are in financial troubles. They need better business practices. I don't know. Mike, you are so on the money with this. So many game companies out there have hired people to handle their marketing who have apps. Okay, I don't want to say absolutely no clue. They think marketing involves throwing advertisements about stuff on social media ad nauseum. That's all they do. Or they just put their mug out there on social media. So their experience with marketing is marketing themselves. So they end up using those same techniques. Give you a great example. And I really am going to wrap up after this. Stray Kismet says, Jeff doesn't have time to watch other creators. He's too busy wrestling his car and losing. That car is long gone. As Joe Monk says, advertisements on social media is not really marketing. It's just basic ads. And they're not even ads. It's just, hey, look at our product. Here's this product. Here's this product coming. Hey, here's this. And it's like a link to their website. It's like, that's not engagement. You're not creating community by doing that. So I was going to say, I'm going to meet with somebody who used to be the marketing person at Osprey Games. Do you recall? I shared quite a lot of reviews for Osprey Games, mainly role-playing games at a certain point, which that kind of bugged me because there were some board games that I would have loved to have gotten to share reviews of. But for the most part, they were sending just about every role-playing game that would come out, and sometimes some of the miniatures rule books. Well, the marketing person left. That was the last time I heard anything from Osprey Games. I was like, really? And what it seems to be is that a lot of these companies, the people who run these companies are not business people. They're gamers. I'm not talking Paizo Inc. and, like Cubicle 7 and stuff like that. I'm talking about the mid-range publishers of games. And they've grown to a point where it's like, wow, we suddenly have a presence, and they get suckered into hiring these people who they see are on social media and they got good number of followers and they bullshit well. And then they bring them on and they stay with the company for 6 months until a better offer from another company comes along. And then they go to that company. But what they do is they take all their contacts with. So any sort of relationship that I, as a content creator, or other content creators have laid the groundwork for is gone. And it's like for an example, Osprey Games. I had no idea why Osprey Games wasn't sending anything. I was still sharing news here and there. I was like, well, this is weird. And I am really not the kind of person who reaches out to companies and says, hey, could you please send me this? I just, every once in a while, if there's something I'm like, wow, I'm really interested in that, I will. But for the most part, it's just, it's up to the publisher. A lot of times publishers reach out, hey, Jeff, what would you like us to send you? And I tell them, it's like, whatever you'd like, whatever you want to send, whatever you want me to get more eyes on, send it along. But I think that is a huge problem for many of these publishers out there and there are some larger publishers too that this is a problem with, where they brought these people on board as their marketing person who are in way over their heads, and they have absolutely no clue of what marketing really is. They only know about what social media is. And the thing is, having a lot of people check out your post isn't getting anybody to spend any money. That's another thing. You know, one aspect of the gaming gang and the videos and that I can basically tell you about is you guys spend money. My audience, small as it is, are buyers. You aren't the sort of people who spend your time watching videos online of other people doing something else. Like watching somebody play a video game to its completion from start to finish without actually being like, you go out and you buy the game. You know, this whole, I hear it from my nephew, Cameron, this whole, well, I watch these videos so I can decide if I want to buy it. But he's watching them play something, and maybe that something has a storyline. Like, you know, if you were sitting there watching someone play Baldur's Gate 3 from beginning to end, why would you need to buy the game? It's like, what the hell? My audience, you folks out there, you're not like that. You're like, hey, I heard that's a good game. I'm going to go buy it. And then I'm going to experience the game for myself. I'm not going to experience it secondhand. So Chardon says, if I didn't feel a certain way about the situation, I would have thrown my dollars at the Adventurer's backpack and starter set. I do feel that certain way. So now I have a ton of black hack fuel. But yeah, that's, I think that's a huge problem. And I know people ask all the time, they're like, well, Jeff, how come you don't work in marketing for one of these companies? And my answer is no one has ever asked. Because the first thing that I would look to do with any game company would be to create community. And to create community, you bring attention to people who enjoy your things, who are sharing their love of your things with other people who might love that thing. As opposed to, hey, I like that. Giving something like does zip zero. So yeah, so if you're working with a game publisher out there, you can forward along this clip, make a clip of this, send it along to them. All right, everybody. So another super sized episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch tonight. Can't believe. Man, says, Jeff, you got it so right. Yeah, because I think, you know, I know my audience is not kids. The biggest demographic, I think, is 35 to 50, although like the 20s are it's halfway decent. Some people older than 52. But I mean, this is not a channel where the 18-year-olds come to like hang out. Pete Strykowitz says, I want to see you shake hands with James Raggy. I don't know about that, man. I don't know him. I just know of some of his affiliations, but you know, I'm also old enough to be like, just because somebody thinks something, as long as it's not something hateful or whatever, you know, I'm like, yeah, okay. So you have different beliefs than me. Nobody's getting an eye poked out. Oh, yeah, all right. All right. We can agree to disagree on things. We don't have to agree on everything. I would hate to hang out with somebody who just was like a carbon copy of me. It drive me nuts. I would hate it. I would hate them. Be like, fuck that Jeff guy. That guy's got to get killed in a car accident or something. Fuck that guy. Can't stand him. Stop coming around here. All right. Anyway, so next week, no new shows. Keep your eyes peeled. There will be new videos, though. We'll have interviews from Gen Con with some of your favorite companies. So stay tuned for that. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm going through the news or flipping through a huge box from GMT loaded with stuff, paging through a role-playing game, what have you. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the channel. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. It'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as all of my upcoming interviews from Gen Con 2025. There are going to be a few of them, so stay tuned. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will see you next month. So take care of yourselves. Enjoy yourselves. Try to stay cool wherever you are. Don't melt into a little puddle. Gosh, it has been awful here in the Chicago area, but it's been unpleasant. I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you in August.